Okay, my name is Celeste Kong, and I'm going to read Blue's Clues. That's not actually the TV show. The case of the Haughty Heir's homicide. So it's written by me, Kevin Hahn, Lauren Anderson, Anna Martinez, and Katie Zomsky. Skip that section. Let's get to the story. Okay. In the quiet, colorful country of EM Spectropolis, there's a small state called Visible Light. This is where we start the case. Detective Blue Azurite, commonly known as Detective Blue, looked out from the shutters in her dark office. The lights needed fixing, and the technician hadn't arrived yet, so she was stuck with a perpetually dim office even though the colorful outside was in opposition otherwise. The world outside was painted with light that could come in many colors, almost like strips of rainbow taped to the floor. She moped around for a little while, her cigarette silently puffing smoke into the air. The fan above squeaked once, only to be drowned out by a loud knocking on the door. Blue quickly sat down and yelled, "Come in!" A nervous young man in gray stepped in. "Oh, detective." Blue flicked the cigarette into the ashtray. "What is it?" She was particularly irritable today because of the broken light, and if she had a case today, her stress level would hit the roof. I was just wondering if you were up for a case." The man adjusted his tie. Blue looked at him with a stare that to him seemed like she was scrutinizing his soul. After 2 seconds of the awkward pause, she sighed and got up. "I'll go get the infrared department, and we'll take a look. Jeez, I never get a break, do I?" The small two-seat convertible barreled through the dense undergrowth and down the worn path. Blue could see that from the state of it, that the road was not serviced in a while, and that this was a very obvious place to commit a murder. The blue convertible pulled up to an old rustic-looking lumber mill with two terrified-looking people waiting for them. "Hello, I'm Detective Blue. This is Inspector X-Ray, and you are?" Blue said, holding out her badge for the two men to see. The look in their eyes said it all. There had just been a murder, and they had just found a body. "My name is Sky Cerulean, and this is my colleague, Hunter Harlequin. We work here at the mill." Cyan was clearly nervous. Why have you called the IRPD on such a fine day?" inquired Inspector X-Ray, Blue's partner. It won't be so fine once you see this," stammered Hunter. Hunter and Cyan led the detective and inspector around the back of the mill, where, covered in a tarp, a body-shaped mound littered the clearing, labeled Lumber Site A, behind the mill. Detective Blue peeled away the dirt-covered tarp to reveal a young woman underneath. "Was the tarp over here when you found her?" "Yes. We didn't dare touch it." Cyan's voice was barely a whisper. "Perhaps you should speak with Inspector X-Ray while I grab my equipment from the car," Detective Blue suggested to the two mill workers. As the two stumbled away from the body with Inspector X-Ray, Blue retrieved her investigation paraphernalia and returned to the gruesome crime scene. The body of the woman was laying on her stomach with a blood-covered axe beside her. The back of her shirt was torn and bloody from the wound. Detective Blue collected fingerprints from the tarp in the woman's clothing, hair and body samples, and mapped out the blood patterns surrounding the unmoved body. After collecting the information she could, Blue called the IRPD for an appropriate extraction of the body to a morgue where it could be studied further. After the body was dropped off at the morgue, Blue traveled through the expansive multicolored police department headquarters pondering her new case, hoping Inspector X-Ray had gotten some useful information. "So, what did you get for the two?" the detective asked Inspector X-Ray. He was looking over the sheets of data covering his desk. "I ran the confessions through the machine. They're right, but they say that the victim was originally at some sort of party." The inspector looked determined at the data. "Mr. Cerulean was kind enough, or startled enough, to tell me who went to the party. Among these are Miss Violet's sworn enemy, Miss Scarlet Amaranth, the victim, Miss Violet Ray herself, and her boyfriend, Mr. Gray Timberwolf. Our witnesses say they weren't at the party, but said that when the group appeared at the mill, they acted drunk, saying that they absolutely wanted to see the mill today. The party was also supposedly hosted in Mrs. Ray, or as the party called her, Gam Gam's house." Blue looked over the sheets she thought were most compelling. "Did you ever find out why they had that party?" Blue asked, setting down the papers. "No, they did not know why the party was thrown. I'll be setting up future interviews with those who attended the party as well as our two witnesses as soon as possible." Blue left X-Ray to schedule his interrogations. In her own office, Detective Blue filed through the evidence collected at the crime scene, as well as the information given to her from the autopsy in the morgue. Results came in that the victim was indeed Miss Violet Ray. Tests on her blood revealed that she had been drugged before their arrival at the lumber mill, which supported the theory that there was no struggle based on the blood patterns on the ground. Fingerprint scans declared a match with Miss Scarlet Amaranth and Mr. Gray Timberwolf, but there was no evidence that Mrs. Gamma Ray had been present at the scene of the crime. Background checks revealed several cases pointing to Miss Amaranth as a culprit for numerous reasons in her past, but it was just as easily Mr. Timberwolf for their romantic relationship. Maybe I should ask the victim's boyfriend first, Blue said to herself, reading several folders of evidence. After some careful tracking and a ton of approved warrants from the IRPD, Blue brought Gray Timberwolf for questioning. Gray was sitting in the chair, his hands tapping out a melody only he seemed to hear. The psych report says he's mentally unstable, so I should be careful in what I say. Blue set down several small folders on the cool metal table. So, Mr. Timberwolf. Gray focused his eyes on Blue as if to memorize her face before it got lost in the chaos in his head. Then he spoke, his voice low. Why am I here? The detective paced in front of the table. In the room just above, X-Ray was keeping careful watch over an audio log and the camera just inside. The therapist stood just outside the door in, watching along with 2 guards posted with him. Blue placed a hand on the metal table. We're here to question you about your girlfriend. Just anything you can seem to tell us about her. She kept a straight face and steely eyes as Gray seemed to falter. He put fingers to his lips. Then he trailed off and Blue watched him for a couple of seconds. She's rich, Gray muttered. I got her dead already, Blue's sweat dropped. She's dead, the boy continued. Yes, that's why you're here, Blue explained. She had the sweet grandma named Gam Gam. Gray shouted as if he had achieved something great. I knew that too, Blue sighed. Blue began tuning Gray out as soon as he began repeating words already spoken. She looked down at her file and frowned. She needed to find out the info about the party. She looked up and opened her mouth, a question on the verge of emergence. Her mouth snapped shut as she realized Gray wasn't in his seat. Rather, he was sprawled out onto the floor, using his chair as if it were a pencil. He hummed merrily as Blue blinked at his quirkiness. She peered over at his inscriptions on the floor, the chair slightly leaving indents. She facepalmed as she realized what he was drawing. Gray looked fascinated as he doodled cookies and tacos all over the interrogation room's floor. What are you doing? Blue asked, slightly annoyed. Gray didn't respond, simply continuing on with his work. Blue sighed and bent down, slightly tugging at Gray's arm. Gray seemed to freeze for a second before he lashed out at Blue, nearly whacking her with the chair. No interruptions! Gray hissed. Blue signaled for the guards and they quickly strode in, yanking Gray to his feet and removing the chair in the mentally unstable male's hand. Gray screamed bloody murder before he was carried out by the guards. Blue groaned in irritation. The entire session had been completely useless. Blue rolled her eyes as Scarlet Amaranth strutted haughtily into the room, dressed in a crimson skin-tight dress, eyeing the dust and grind distastefully. Okay, why am I here? Scarlet snapped rudely. Didn't even do anything. Just take a seat, please, Blue sighed. I really have no time for arguing. Ha! Scarlet scoffed. You think I'm gonna sit in that rickety third-world chair? Nothing that isn't designer touches my skin. Blue groaned irritably. Fine, let's just do this while you're standing. Scarlet glared daggers at the officer. Excuse you? You're going to let me just stand here while you get to relax comfortably in your chair? Treating me like a prisoner already. But you didn't want to sit down! Blue snarled in a rare moment of anger before she quickly composed herself. I said I didn't want to sit down at that chair, Scarlet frowned. You should really listen more, officer. Blue took a few deep breaths before continuing. All right then. What will it take for you to sit down and to get this interrogation started? Scarlet smiled mischievously. Oh, I just need a few things. Blue looked around at the interrogation room, if you could even call it that anymore. Scarlet lounged in a love seat with a golden red color scheme, a masseuse working on her upper back while 2 spa workers placed a facial mask on her face. A fridge, stove, table, and a heater had been dragged in by 2 officers. A chef hummed as he tossed dough up and down, while a butler poured champagne into a crystalline chalice. Blue especially hated the entourage of interior decorators, which were discussing what shade of pink to color the room. She glared at the 8 maids dancing around the room, cleaning the dust away. She squeaked in surprise as a large woman slammed into her accidentally. Oh, sorry, sweet cheeks. I didn't notice your scrawny self, especially when you're wearing that tasteless uniform, the woman said nonchalantly. I was just bringing in the construction team. Construction team, Blue sputtered, ignoring the woman's insult. In a flash, a wrecking ball swung straight past Blue's face and collided into the far wall, shattering it on impact. What is this? Blue snarled, pointing an accusatory finger at Scarlet. What? Scarlet complained. You said you'd do whatever it takes. Blue growled as she shoved the masseuse away and cuffed Scarlet. Scarlet staggered backwards, while the maids shrieked. The police officers pulled guns on the whole assembly of various people, and Blue glared even harder at Scarlet. You know what? Blue slammed a hand down on the table, frightening Scarlet's various staff members even more. I didn't call you here for interior decorating. I called you here to discuss a murder. And if you won't take it seriously, then we are qualified to do anything to get you to talk. She noticed X-Ray making throat cuts at her, which she ignored, including shut down your business. Scarlet paled. She noticed Gray's drawings on the floor as she got up and looked startled. She beckoned for one of her many staff and he scooted forward, placing a small placemat over Gree's drawings. Blue turned on him. "What are you doing?" Blue spat. "Are you asking to get shot?" "Fine, I'll comply," Scarlet agreed, seeming nervous as she distracted Blue from the staff member placing the placemat. "Later," Blue smiled menacingly. "But first—" Scarlet screamed as Blue chucked her into a holding cell. "You can't do this!" Scarlet shrieked. "I didn't do anything illegal. I demand an attorney." "Oh, but you did." Blue laughed. "Breaking the interrogation room? Does that ring any bells?" Scarlet huffed, seemingly speechless. "I'll be back," Blue promised, "after I interrogate some other suspects and deem who is guilty. And maybe then, just maybe, I'll let you go." Blue brushed aside a few stray strands of hair as she entered interrogation room 2. X-ray stood outside the glass that separated the suspects from the officers. "You sure you should do this one? You blew up on the last girl," X-ray asked. "Maybe I should do it this time." Blue opened her mouth to object, but before she could, a loud bell sounded as an elderly woman hobbled into the room. X-ray rushed into the room as Blue rolled her eyes. Perhaps she would have some time to speak with that woman later. She walked out into the main room of the IRPD murder department and gasped startled as a woman dressed in all black walked in. "Coroner Candace!" Blue said, surprised. "Hey, Alice, I'm just dropping off the results from the autopsy. Man, such a shame." She was so young, too. Blue nodded in confirmation as she bid the coroner farewell and gathered the evidence before heading to her office, hoping that justice would be served soon. Blue scanned over the results of reports and tests on Violet's body. Blue glanced interestedly at 2 results in particular. Body found with an excessive amount of NyQuil extreme in their digestive system? That's really weird. Excess amounts of sugar, flour, and other ingredients used to make pastries. No alcohol found, but the lumberjack said the trio was drunk. Blue wondered, confused as she perused through the results. Murder weapon was created by Photon Weapons Incorporated. Blue turned to her computer and typed in the nearest Photon Weapon Incorporated's address. A list of employees there popped up, and Blue scrolled through the names, thinking perhaps a name would correlate with the case. She stopped suddenly and read a name again, but it was who she thought it was. She stared at the black print of her computer, knowing perhaps exactly who the murderer was. Grey Timberwolf. Blue groaned as Inspector X-Ray shoved her into interrogation room 3. Apparently, since both of her interrogations were failures, she was getting demoted to the lesser suspects, while X-Ray got to speak with Grey and eventually Scarlet again. Now, Hunter Harlequin sat nervously in his chair. "So," Blue glared at him, "you better not be as stuck up as Scarlet or worse. Just tell me what you know." Hunter glanced around anxiously. "Well, I was coming back just after being treated to lunch by a visitor. One is Sanderiona, I think. But I'd refused the lunch because I was a vegetarian. Sign came back later while I was working, saying he had refused the lunch and that the others had digestive problems. I ended up leaving him and getting some lunch, and when I came back, Sign was yelling about a body. I came too, and we both discovered the body of that girl." Blue nodded. "Other workers having digestive problems after the lunch? Strange enough to warrant a name. Can you tell me the name of this one?" Hunter thought to himself. "I don't know. I didn't stick around for that. But I think he said he was giving us the lunch courtesy of a woman or something. He said that it was no problem that she'd bought 3 tacos for every one of the 70 workers. That she was rich enough to buy the whole company if she wanted to. Who would be rich enough for that?" Blue could only think of Scarlet, but then another thought crossed her mind. Can I go now, Detective?" Hunter asked fearfully. Blue waved and sent him off. Sky sighed cerulean sighed as he plopped down into a seat. Blue was writing a few words from Hunter's interrogation down. She looked up and closed the file folder in her hands. "Cyan?" the detective asked, clarifying. Cyan simply nodded in affirmation. "All right. Let's cut to the chase. You don't want to be here. I want to be out of here and interrogating major suspects. So just tell me what you know, and you can leave," Blue ordered bluntly. "Yeah, okay," Cyan agreed. "So this dopey teenager and his weirdo friends treated us workers to lunch, giggling about a party and gam-gam. Tacos. I refused them, but some others devoured them like rabid dogs. Anyway, Hunter went out for lunch, and I was just walking around, since almost all the workers were in the bathroom taking a dump. But then the teens disappeared, and I personally didn't give a chainsaw that they were gone. And then I noticed that one of the axes was missing from the rack. I thought one of those teens pawned it and went out looking for them. Then I heard a muffled scream, and found the axe, though it was buried in one of the teens' backs. I ran back for help, and that's when Hunter came back, and the both of us called the police. That's what happened." Blue stroked her chin in deep thought. What were those teenagers' names?" Cyan shrugged. "I only knew one of them, the boy." Blue pressed on. "His name, please?" "Timberwolf. Grey Timberwolf." X-Ray and Blue met up in the lobby of the IRPD building, holding various files. "What'd you get from that old woman, Mr. Timberwolf and Scarlet?" Blue inquired. I haven't interrogated Mr. Timberwolf or Miss Scarlet yet, but Miss Gamma Ray stated that she thought that the murderer would have to be two people, X-Ray responded. What makes her think that? Blue frowned. She said that if someone had to be suspected, she would suspect those two lumber mill workers. Her reasoning was that someone would have to have drugged Violet, and someone would have to murder her. She thinks that when Mr. Harlequin left to get lunch, he actually went and drugged Miss Violet Ray, and then he returned while Mr. Cerulean, who had 10 years of experience with an axe, the murder weapon, went to slaughter the victim. X-Ray shrugged. And how does she know all this information? Blue asked. I told her because she wanted to know the circumstances of her granddaughter's death. It's fine. She's just a sweet old lady. X-Ray insisted when Blue shot him a dubious look. All right, fine. Whatever. All I got from Mr. Cerulean and Mr. Harlequin was that Mr. Timberwolf delivered tacos to the lumber mill workers with some others with him. Supposedly Violet and Scarlet. Cyan then said that the others got digestive problems and Cyan found Violet's body before calling Hunter, and then the two called us. And Coroner Candace gave me the autopsy reports, and I saw that Miss Violet Ray had an extreme overdose of Nickel Extreme in her system, and ingredients used for common pastries along with no alcohol at all. Should we check Gray and Scarlet for similarities? Blue explained. Definitely. X-Ray agreed. Yes, and also the axes from the lumber mill came from Photon Weapons, the workplace of Mr. Gray Timberwolf, Blue continued. Interesting. So it seems that Mr. Timberwolf is the culprit, X-Ray concluded. You know what? You never know, Blue said. And if Gray really did do it, then who is the so-called second culprit? Perhaps it's Miss Amaranth, X-Ray frowned, but we can't rule out the possibility that the lumber mill workers could have done it as well. But for now, let's test Gray and Scarlet for Nyquil Extreme and pastry ingredients. No! Let go of me, you heathens! Scarlet bellowed as two guards dragged her into a small lab where a group of forensic scientists were setting up small stations. Gray was laughing spontaneously as he stumbled into the room after Scarlet. Please calm down, miss, a man advised gently to the raging bull that was Scarlet Amaranth. No! I refuse! I want my attorney! Scarlet screamed. I am not a worthless slave used for government experiments! Let go of me! Ah! Blue sighed. This was gonna take a while. Blue groaned as she downed a few migraine pills as she waited for the results of the testing to return. Gray looked placid as he rested on a cushioned chair, staring vacantly towards the silver walls. Scarlet, on the other hand, was strapped onto a hospital bed, screeching furiously. A scientist scurried in, handing Blue the results. Blue viewed over the information before handing it off to Inspector X-Ray. She stared at the protesting Scarlet. What does the report say, Inspector X-Ray? Blue said seriously. Mr. Gray Timberwolf overdoses of Nyquil Extreme at around the same time as Miss Violet Ray. Also a trace of pastry ingredients, no trace of alcohol. X-Ray announced. Miss Scarlet Amaranth, no traces of any dosage of Nyquil Extreme or pastry ingredients. Also, no alcohol. Blue glared at Scarlet. Miss Amaranth, care to tell us why the late Miss Violet Ray and Miss Gray Timberwolf were drugged while your mind was as clear as glass? I don't need to respond to lowlife like you, Scarlet sneered. She drove us, Gray suddenly murmured. Who drove you, Scarlet? X-Ray asked, turning to the boy. Gray stared hauntingly back at the inspector. No, it wasn't her. Then who was it? Gam. Miss Gamma Ray, Blue stated firmly. Please take a seat. Gamma exhaled slowly as she lowered onto the chair, while Blue was happy to not have to deal with Gray and Scarlet anymore. X-Ray had reinterrogated the duo already, still with meager results. What have I been called back here for? Gamma asked. Did you find out who slaughtered my granddaughter? Not exactly. I'm here to ask you why you drove Miss Amaranth, Miss Ray, and Mr. Timberwolf to the logging mill, Blue responded. Oh, I drove them? Gam questioned. No, I don't think I did. We have two witness accounts by Mr. Timberwolf and eventually Miss Amaranth that you did, Blue explained. I see, the elderly woman croaked. I don't seem to remember this. Blue and Inspector X-Ray met up once more, preparing for a final verdict. Miss Gamma Ray states that she doesn't remember if she drove Miss Violet Ray, Miss Scarlet Amaranth, and Mr. Gray Timberwolf to the lumber mill or not. Blue sighed irritably. Personally, I believe she's holding something back. Well, we don't have much time anymore before the chief closes the case. This crime needs to be solved, X-Ray replied. Let's review what we know. Well, Mr. Timberwolf, Miss Amaranth, and Miss Ray were supposedly at a party, and were supposedly driven to the Timberwolf lumber mill, possibly by Miss Gamma Ray. There the workers were treated to a taco lunch. By the way, have you found out why they had digestive problems? Blue stated. I brought some of the lumber mill workers who actually ate the lunch in for some scans. The results are still yet to be out. I also did some more scans on Miss Violet Ray's stomach, and it has been confirmed that those pastry ingredients Coroner Candace found are actually cookies. Miss Violet Ray hadn't digested the morsel entirely, so we can see that the cookies that she ate were actually laced with the excessive amounts of NyQuil Extreme that Coroner Candace also found. We are currently testing Miss Scarlet Amaranth and Mr. Grey Timberwolf for the same NyQuil cookies. How interesting, Blue mused. So it seems that the killer would have to be a good baker. Not exactly. The timing of Miss Violet's drugging are too close to her time of death. It would have to be 2 people or more. And some of our background searches were launched while you were speaking with Miss Gamma Ray. It seems that Scarlet Amaranth and Grey Timberwolf have never baked once in their wealthy lives. Miss Gamma Ray, though, was born into poverty and married into wealth, so it's very possible she could be a baker. Mr. Cyan Cerulean and Mr. Hunter Harlequin are also contenders of this, X-ray corrected. That eliminates Scarlet and Grey as the drugger, but they could still be the murderer. Blue side. This is all so complicated. At that moment, a small thin man darted into the room and, in a squeaky, high-pitched voice, caught the attention of the 2 detectives. He then handed Inspector X-ray a small file before scurrying off. X-ray flipped through the words and frowned curiously. X-ray said curiously. It seemed the tacos contained laxatives. That explains the digestive problems. Also, Mr. Grey Timberwolf had the same NyQuil cookies in his system, but Miss Scarlet Amaranth once again did not have similar qualities to Grey and the late Violet. Okay then. Mr. Grey Timberwolf then delivered the laxative tacos to the lumber mill workers before walking away crazily and possibly murdering Violet, or possibly Scarlet murdered Violet, or even the workers who didn't eat the tacos possibly slaughtered her. Then, Mr. Cerulean and Mr. Harlequin found our axe's body after Mr. Cerulean found out that an axe was missing and went looking for the teens. Then we came. Is there anything I'm missing? Blue asked. No, seems right, X-ray assured. Well, that leaves us with one final question then. Who was the one who murdered Violet Ray? Okay then, that's the end of the story. So, you decide who murdered Miss Violet Ray. That's it. I'm not going to read the right ending synopsis or any of the endings yet. Because, I mean, seriously. It's a lot to read. I will, however, read the evidence. The murder location was Timberwolf Logging Camp. This is the logging camp that Grey owns, or Grey's family owns. The murder weapon was one of the wood cutting axes. The suspect list: Grey Timberwolf, Violet Ray, Gam Gam, Cyan Cerulean, Hunter Harlequin, and Scarlet Amaranth. Grey's drawings of cookies and tacos all over the interrogation room floor. That's important because obviously NyQuil cookies and laxative tacos. Come on. The confessions of the logging crew, which was, I think those were 2 testimonies in Cyan and Sky. The blood evidence, she was drugged and there was no struggle. The fingerprints, Scarlet and Grey at the crime scene. And the wounds was back, clear through the stomach. I don't think you should imagine that because there's going to be blood, hydrochloric acid, bone, bits of cookie, blood everywhere. Yeah, all over the floor and stuff. And tarp. Background checks. Scarlet's envy, Grey's love and slightly unstable mental state, and Cyan's experience with axes. NyQuil Extreme! The murder weapon was created by Photon Weapons, Inc. Corporated. I did not forget that part. Excessive amounts of pastry ingredients. They are confirmed to be cookies. Gam Gam's testimony. 2 people didn't. One drugged the teens, and the other murdered Violet. And she thinks Green drugged the teens, and Cyan murdered Violet. This is proven to be true that 2 people did do it. So if you are going to guess, it has to be 2 people. One of the axes was indeed missing. The mysterious woman, rich enough to buy the logging camp and 3 tacos for all of the 70 workers. Digestive problems reported after eating said tacos. Witnesses claim Gam Gam drove them to the logging mill. Testimonial evidence. The 3 teenagers were indeed at a party, were driven by Gam Gam to the logging camp. More testimonial evidence. Workers were treated to lunch. Evidence that it had to be 2 people. Drugging was too close to the time of the death. Death. Anyway, I am going to read the character bios, and then I am going to put the endings in a separate thingy. Character bios. Alice Blue Azurite, age 26, gender female. Additional info: detective solving the Violet Ray murder case. Family includes Eton Azurite, 54, the father, Maya Azurite, 52, the mother, Bondi Azurite, 23, her sister, and Yale Azurite, 22, the brother. Alice Blue Azurite was born in the late 1900s and went through her early years of life with a determined curiosity. She began being called Blue when she was born. The umbilical cord from her mother had wrapped around her neck and nearly strangled her and caused her to go a deep shade of blue, but she was saved. The nurses at the hospital began calling her Blue Baby, and she picked up on those words. So to this day, her nickname has always and always will be Blue. The Azurite family was a slightly disgraced family with generations of criminals, murderers, and thieves as ancestors. Even Alice's parents, Edon and Maya, weren't exactly pure. They too had small records of thievery and even a murder or two. Nevertheless, the Azurite children strive to be better than their ancestors and bring respect and honor to the Azurite name. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Bondi Azurite became a smuggler and helped bring in merchandise from other countries and states. She was arrested when Alice was 16 years old and currently has 2 years left before her release. Yale Azurite also became a known criminal, but for the worst case of crime that has ever occurred in visible light. The downtown death drive-by is infamous for its horror and spontaneity. Yale Azurite was eventually revealed as the gunman of the crime after killing 42 citizens, including EM Spectrum Company's CEOs, Orchard Ray and Thistle Mauve, the 9-year-old Sable Timberwolf, and many others. He escaped from the police for 14 hours before being caught and arrested on sight. He is currently serving a life sentence. Alice became interested in crime and police work after these 2 incidents and single-handedly began cleaning her family's name. Though this has not come without sacrifice, as she had been forced to arrest her parents for kidnapping, her cousin for drug dealing, her grandfather for bank robbing, etc. Blue was also one of the first esteemed members welcomed into the Infrared Police Department, a new police force determined to make visible light a safer place. Alice lives in apartment 3 on Owl Lane. Detective Blue is currently solving the Violet Ray murder case. Scarlett Amaranth, age 21, gender female, additional info, suspect for the murder of Violet Ray. Family includes Carmen Amaranth, 39, her sister, Flame Amaranth, 40, her brother, Cerise Amaranth, 29, her sister, Magenta Amaranth, 60, her mother, and Rusty Amaranth, 63, her father. Scarlett Amaranth grew up as the youngest in the middle-class Amaranth family with a brother and 2 sisters. Carmen and Flame were off at college when she was born. Cerise babysitted her until she, too, went off to university. Scarlett grew up alone and was recorded by her teachers as antisocial and awkward. Reports state that she was bullied as she made her way through school. The most severe case was reported in 2005 when Scarlett, 13 at the time, was attacked by fellow classmate Violet Ray. Scarlett was beaten and degraded before authorities separated the 2 and arrested Violet for assault. Scarlett had been reported in multiple incidents of hatred against the girl afterward, including brawls for the love another student, Gray Timberwolf. Scarlett is attending Vizia Spectre University and is currently on her last year there. Scarlett works as a manager at the Crimson Fashion Store located on East Frequency Avenue and is currently living in an apartment shared with roommate Iris Indigo. Violet Ray, age 21, gender female, additional info, victim of the murder at Lumber Site A in the Energia Forest. Family includes Gamma Ray, 83, her grandmother, Mulberry Ray, 88, her grandfather, deceased, Orchard Ray, 31, mother, deceased, Thistle Mauve, 34, father, deceased. Violet Ray grew up in lavish and luxurious circumstances. Her family owned EM Spectrum Co., the most powerful and wealthy company in the entire nation and ranked 2nd most wealthy worldwide, only behind Pegler Puns Incorporated. Violet was loved by all and quickly made enemies with many girls at her school, including murder suspect Scarlett Amaranth, but she put them all in their places with reported violence. Her family had enough power to destroy the courts in the state, so she was always let off the hook. This includes her infamous attack on Scarlett Amaranth that led to her arrest for a week, before being set free with no repercussions, as the guards, judges, and jury were all seen being bribed. Violet began a bigger rivalry with Scarlett in high school, where Scarlett's newfound beauty was enough to challenge Violet's rule. When she was just 15 years old and in her 2nd year of high school, tragedy struck. Her parents had both passed away in the infamous and fatal downtown death drive-by, where the gunman raced through the city and gunned multiple citizens down. Violet began living with her grandmother, Gamma, the kind and sweet but regal wife of the founder of EM Spectrum Co., Mulberry Ray. Violet eventually began dating a fellow classmate, Gray Timberwolf, in her senior year and continued their relationship when they both began attending Vizia Spectre University. Violet worked as the owner of her own store, Lavender Spawn Sauna, a business determined to create relaxation and peace. Violet was found axed to Violet was found axed to death. Oh, wait, shit, I should probably put that in a different recording. Violet was found axed to death on lumber site A in Energia Forest and found by two lumber mill workers, Sky Cerulean and Hunter Harlequin. Suspects include her boyfriend, Grey Timberwolf, her rival, Scarlet Amaranth, her grandmother, Gamma Ray, and the woodworkers, Sky Cerulean and Hunter Harlequin. The case is currently being investigated by the IRPD. Gamma Gam Gam Ray, age 83, gender female. Additional info, grandmother of murder victim Violet Ray. Possible suspect. Family includes Violet Ray, 21, granddaughter deceased. Mulberry Ray, 88, husband deceased. Orchard Ray, 31, daughter deceased. Thistle Mauve, 34, son-in-law deceased. Amethyst Wisteria, 89, mother deceased. And Byzantium Wisteria, 92, father deceased. Gamma Gam Gam Ray was born in 1930, where times were very different. Born into poverty and always degraded by others, she grew strong and steely with the mindset of a survivor. Her eventual husband, Mulberry, founded EM Spectrum Co. in 1949 and with her guidance helped pave its way to success. They married soon after. Soon, Gamma's child Orchid was born, and unlike her mother, lived a life of luxury. After a long and fulfilling life, Mulberry passed away while Gamma continued moving forward. Gamma wanted what was best for her daughter and was very strict about her daughter's eventual marriage. Eventually, Orchid Ray and Thistle Mauve would wed and conceived a child, Violet. But Orchid and her husband died tragically in a drive-by shootout, and her daughter, Violet, was left in custody of old Gam Gam. The recent murder of Violet Ray has left the woman tragically ill. Gamma lives in Ray Manor on Convex Hill and continues running EM Spectrum Co. Grey Timberwolf, age 21, gender male. Additional info, boyfriend of the victim, Violet Ray, possible suspect. Family includes Slate Timberwolf, 49, father. Isabeline Timberwolf, 48, mother. Sylvia Timberwolf, 17, sister. Ash Timberwolf, 13, brother. Sable Timberwolf, 9, sister, deceased. Bistray Timberwolf, 2, brother. Grey Timberwolf was born as the oldest in a soon-to-be large family. He was an only child for 4 years until his sister, Sylvia, was born. He spent most of his time alone. His parents were both owners of the Timberwolf Logging Company and were usually in business meetings or simply a bit too negligent to their only child. This caused Grey to become more self-dependent and almost immediately, and in doing so, he began pushing away others. When his sister, Sylvia, was born, Grey absolutely detested her. After the addition of more children, Grey's parents began becoming even more uncaring towards the young male. In school, Grey was quite antisocial, developing sharp words and scathing comebacks. He nearly always was able to destroy someone from within. This led to many altercations with his classmates. However, Grey softened when his sister Sable, 9 at the time, was killed in a nefarious downtown death drive-by, where she was with Grey, shopping before being gunned down as the first death. Grey was scarred and his tough facade crumbled. Ever since, he has been more haunted and vulnerable than before and was in therapy for quite a while. In high school, he became the center of a love feud between Scarlet Amaranth and Violet Ray. Grey spent his high school years rebuilding his walls, sealing himself in once more. But one anomaly slipped through: Violet Ray. In his senior year, Grey and Violet began their relationship, which had continued on until their untimely death. Grey is now once more in therapy after he lapsed back into depression after Violet's murder. Grey lives on 27 Microwave Way and works at Photon Weapons, where he melds metal into multiple different objects, such as guns, knives, axes, etc. Hunter Harlequin, age 18, gender male. Additional info: witness in the Violet Ray murder case, finds the body of Violet along with colleague Sky. Known protester in incidents such as Go Green and Save Nature, Save Ourselves. Family includes Olive Harlequin, 49, mother. Pine Harlequin, 51, father, deceased. Fern Harlequin, 16, sister. Kelly Harlequin, 17, sister. Spring Harlequin, 15, sister. Paris Harlequin, 15, sister. And Jade Harlequin, 15, sister. Hunter Harlequin was born into a family completely made up of women, his father Pine having passed away due to a heart attack. He began working at age 14, having to provide for his large family after his mother's inability to hold a job. He began working at the Timberwolf Company logging mill when he turned 16, causing him to be teased by schoolmates about working for fellow classmate Sylvia Timberwolf's family. He recently began attending Ray Dorothy Oscar, Ray D.O., Community College and continues to work at the Timberwolf logging mill. He is known to have interest in nature, as his records have shown, having protested at many petitions. He is reported to have a love for nature and lives in Maria's home for an impoverished woman. He recently found the corpse of Heir, Violet Ray, along with his college colleague Sky Cerulean. The case is still currently being investigated. Sky Tiffany Cerulean, or Cyan. Age 24, gender male, additional info. Witness to the Violet Murray murder case, discovers Violet's corpse along with fellow lumber mill worker Hunter Harlequin. Family includes Zafre Cerulean, 57, the father, Celeste Cerulean, 54, the mother, and Tiffany Cerulean, 24 seconds, twin sister deceased. Sky Tiffany Cerulean was born in tragic circumstances as his mother Celeste birthed him and his twin sister Tiffany. He survived the process, but his sister died in merely 24 seconds. In honor of his lost twin, his middle name became Tiffany. After the horrid circumstances of his birth, his mother, Celeste, went mentally unstable and was arrested by newly crowned officer Alice Azurite. She currently resides in the Infrared Police Department Insane Asylum Cell 42. His father, Zafre, became a drunkard and abused Sky multiple times. Eventually, the situation was discovered by revered IRPD officer Azurite, and his father was also thrown into prison. Sky began working from the young age of 14 at the Timberwolf logging mill and has now worked there for a decade. He won the Hardest Worker Award presented by the Timberwolf family themselves. Sky lives on Dodger Avenue in the Duke Apartments. He recently found the corpse of Miss Violet Wright at Lumber Site A. The case is still being solved. Imagine how this makes me feel. I feel really bad now. Xavier Ray Smith, or X-Ray. Age 28, gender male, additional info. Interrogator of the IRPD because he sees right through the suspects. Family includes Candace Cancer, 28, his wife. Bonnie Smith, 49, mother. And Cyril Drew Smith, or C. Drew, 49, father. Xavier Ray Smith was born in a very regular and middle-class family in which he thrived. When he reached middle school, he began learning of his innate ability to find out the truth. He then subsequently teamed up with his best friend, Candace Sir, and opened up their own detective business. Up until college, the two were best friends before they fell madly in love with each other. They subsequently became part of the IRPD after they were married. Xavier works as an interrogator while Candace is a coroner, and both are currently working on the Violet Ray murder case. This is all for the biographies thing. Okay, so that was the end of the story, and the biography, and the evidence thing. Now there's gonna be bloopers, and then after this I will get the endings in soon. I hope you enjoy me messing up in hilarious ways and then laughing at myself. That's pretty much it. Oh wait, it's recording! As the two stumbled away from the body with Inspector X-Ray, Blue retrieved her investigation. Oh! Oh god, I'm going to kill myself for that. Oh! Oh my god, it's still recording. I forgot about that. As the two stumbled away from the body from Inspector X-Ray, Blue retrieved her investigation. I did it again! I did it again! God! Blue growled as she shoved the masseuse away and cuffed Scarlet. Scarlet staggered backwards while the maids shrieked. The police officers pulled guns on a whole assembly of various people and glue. I just called it glue! God damn it! Sign went out to lunch, and I was just walking. Oh my god, he just. Inception! Mysterious whooping. The Azurite family was a slightly disgraced family, with generations of criminals, murders, and thieves as successors. I think I messed that up. Her cousin for drug dealing, her grandfather for bank robbery. God damn it. Wait. Oh no, that's right. Okay, I thought that was like. I thought she was 73 or something. Okay, that was it for my reading of Blue's Clues. Oh, I almost got another blooper there. Okay, Blue's Clues, the case of the Haughty Heir's homicide. Thanks for listening to me read, and I will get the endings up soon. Yeah, that'll be exciting. I mean, hey, we gotta find out who got murdered. Or, whoops, We already know who's murdered. We gotta find out who murdered Violet. Okay, thank you very much for... oh god. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day, night, whatever you're doing. Yeah, you're welcome.